morning.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. There are so many great faces on here. I'm so excited that, first of all, that Heartland has asked us to do this amazing programming. Thank you to our friends Kate, Carrie, and Larry. Thank you so much for having us tonight. And we have a bunch of really amazing editors from Scholastic here to talk to you about their favorite books that are coming out in spring and summer. So in the chat, I'm actually going to be posting the Edelweiss collection, so you guys can follow along if you'd like, and also the Google form for Galleys afterwards. And if we can have all booksellers, if you could just please mute yourself upon entry, that would be great. To start it off, before I introduce David, I'm going to draw a name because we have these really, really cool things. We have Peter Reynolds made these adorable little miniature table and chairs with a little copy of our table, and we're going to give 2 of these away. So I'm very excited for that. So the first one is going to go. Oh,
let's go with 600 for now.
600 for now? Okay. How about Rachel? Rachel from Booked. If you're on, jump in the really cool chat and I'll congratulate you. And now I'm going to turn this over to David Levithan, who is the real reason why everybody is here. David, would you like
Hardly. To I feel Nikki. We're all here for you, but I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be back at Heartland. I was sharing the trauma of the fact last time I was in Heartland was in person, and we ended up in the middle of the night going to a Target where I dressed as a hot dog. So unfortunately I didn't keep the costume or else I'd be wearing it today, but instead you'll just have to bear with me here at 557 Broadway, the Scholastic mothership. I am in the office. The office does still exist. I can vouch for it. And we're just so excited to have this hour with you to talk about all the books we're really excited about. This was in many ways an excruciating exercise for the editors because of course all of us want to present all of our books to you, but we've asked the editors to whittle it down to really talk about the books they're passionate about and that they most want you to read. And I'm glad that you have the Edelweiss and the takeaway so you can immediately make your list and really dive into these books. They're all so wonderful. And we so appreciate your support. It's been incredible to see just the love for books that has shown through these really hard times. And we know that they've been hard times for you, as well as for so many of the people we work with. And it's just amazing to be able to celebrate sort of the spirit of the books we put out into the world, because I think if anything 2020 and 2021 has made us do, it has made us consider what we do want to put out into the world and what we do want to put into your hands in order to put into the hands of children and teens. And I think we're so proud of the titles that we have and that we can share them with you. So we are doing this in alphabetical order by first name for the editors, if you're wondering where this order comes from. And I have to say, in introducing the editors, you are going to admire their range. I think all of them have such extraordinary range. And so I'm going to sort of tell you who they are, and then they're going to sort of talk to you about the book that's coming up that they most want you to read and to share with your customers. So we start out with Amy Friedman, who again is really perfect demonstration of range here. Amy is the editor of the #1 New York Times bestselling author Alan Gratz. You may know him. And she's also the editor of the New York Times bestselling author Sarah Mlynowski, the author of the Whatever After series. Again, Alan Gratz, Sarah Mlynowski, that is range. But she is going to be telling you about another author dear to her heart, Debbie Rigaud. Amy?
Hi,
Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to see you. Greetings from New York City. So yes, thank you for that lovely intro, David. I am delighted and honored to be talking to you today about A Girl's Guide to Love and Magic by Debbie Rigaud, which is set to pub in August 2022. I'm like, what year are we in again? Yes, so Debbie is an amazing author. Her previous book was Simone Breaks All the Rules. And she also co-authored Alyssa Milano's middle grade and New York Times bestselling Hope series. Now, Debbie is a Haitian American author, and A Girl's Guide to Love and Magic is extremely personal and dear to her heart. It is Debbie's take basically on voodoo, which is a daring topic. And if anyone can pull it off with nuance and wit and humor and wisdom, it is Debbie Rigaud. So, A Girl's Guide to Love and Magic tells the Oh, I was just muted. Am I running over time, David?
No.
Nope, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Okay. So A Girl's Guide to Love and Magic tells the story of Cicely, a Haitian American teenager living in Brooklyn, New York, who is so excited for the upcoming West Indian Day Parade, which is a real parade that happens in Brooklyn and is a huge, colorful, wonderful celebration of Caribbean culture. And before the parade, Cicely's hanging out with her fabulous aunt, Mimose, who's Instagram influencer known for dabbling in voodoo, or as it's known, Haitian Vodou. And accidentally, her aunt, while she's giving a reading to someone, seems to be possessed by a rogue spirit. And now it's up to Cicely and her best friend and maybe her crush to try and kind of reverse whatever magic spell has happened to her aunt. But Cicely herself doesn't know that much about voodoo and has to learn along the way. Again, this is a story that's handled with such nuance and care, but also incredible humor and romance. It's just an utter joy, an utter ode to Caribbean culture, to Haitian culture, to New York City. Fans of Blackout will love it. Fans of Ibiza Boy will love it. It's just gonna put the biggest smile on your face and fill you with, well, love and magic. I hope you love it.
Awesome. All right, someone who puts a smile on my face and who I think is full of love and magic is Andrea Davis Pinckney, who I don't really need to introduce. Like Amy and myself, she you know her for two reasons, both as author and editor, but of course we are all here as editors today, and she has not one but two books she's really excited about. So Andrea, all you.
Thank you so much, David. And yes, it's like M&Ms or potato chips. I just could not pick one. So I am presenting two books this evening, and I am very honored and excited to first present Sonia Manzano's extraordinary novel, Coming Up Cuban. So just take a moment. I know that we're in these Zoom squares, but I want you to travel with me to Cuba 1959, where a revolution has begun as Fidel Castro comes into power. And we meet these remarkable characters who tell us we are threatened by an uncertain tomorrow. Our tears turn the glittering stars soft and out of focus in the moonless sky. Reading makes me hate my father. A pinprick in my finger sends a red bubble of blood, a small ball of pain compared to the violence lurking outside. These things are happening to Ana, Miguel, Zulema, and Juan, each aching to escape the ugly ways of a ruler whose domination tries to silence their voices. What Sonia Manzano has done so brilliantly is she's created 4 stories that overlap across landscapes, towns, cities, nations, and worlds, and then beautifully come together in a heart-wrenchingly crafted crescendo that creates one story of resilience and hope. Sonia needs no introduction. So many of us have grown up with her as the television trailblazer, cultural icon, and historical expert on so many things. She defined the role of Maria on Sesame Street for nearly half a century, but she's so multi-talented. She is the Porter Belpré honor-winning novelist of several books for teens. Coming Up CUBAN is her groundbreaking work. It's drawn from her personal experience and that of her family. We currently, I'm delighted to share, have endorsements from several notables, including Soledad O'Brien, Margarita Engel, so many others, and we have another blurb on the way from none other than Jacqueline Woodson. Okay, let's go to the next one. Nikki, if you can show that cover. This is a showstopper. All right, well, make no mistake, Kaysen Callender is an author who pushes us to reach deeply into our psyches and souls. We love Kaysen at Scholastic. So many readers love Kaysen. And here is Moonflower. Kaysen has done it again. This is their powerful, carefully orchestrated story of 12-year-old Moon, a middle schooler facing the demons and shadows of depression. So Moon travels to the spirit realms every night, hoping never to return to the world of the living. But when that realm is threatened, it's up to Moon to save the spirit world, which sparks their own healing journey. Now, something to know. Will this novel's opening pages confuse you? Absolutely. And this is Kaysen's brilliant storytelling insight at work, because depression is confusing. It is cunning, baffling, powerful. It makes no sense, especially when you are 12 years old. So from the novel's very first utterance, Kaysen puts us behind Moon's eyes so that we too are engulfed by Moon's troubling journey through mental illness. As Moon grows toward healing, they show all children that each and every one of us has a tree growing inside, that our souls emerge when we discover and fully accept ourselves. Kaysen has crafted a novel that is deeply spiritual. You can see it on that cover by Daniel Minter. It is deeply personal. It is based on Kaysen's own experience with depression as a middle schooler. Moonflower will challenge you to think beyond traditional storytelling, to consider middle grade narratives in new ways, to reach, to discover, to cheer this feat of nuanced writing from an author who continues to expand in unprecedented ways.
Amazing. It is such an extraordinary book. I believe Nikki Mutch called it like one of the top 5 middle grades she'd ever read. Was that a direct quote?
That is a direct quote.
It was a direct quote. So you're going to be hearing a lot from Nikki about this book, as well as many, many other people. It is so gorgeous. All right, alphabetically, it is now my turn. Hi, I'm David Levithan. And actually, Kaysen's book is a great segue, because I think one of the things, if you're talking about things that I want to see out in the world, are complex, complicated, inspiring queer stories for all ages. And I think Kaysen is one of the extraordinary purveyors of that. We have Ready When You Are, an Indigenous Australian love story between 2 boys, coming out in our Push imprint this February. We have Bill Konigsberg's AIDS era love story, Destination Unknown, coming out this summer, or next summer, I guess. But the book I wanted to focus on was Will Taylor's Language of Seabirds, because I do think it is one that needs to be put on the radar, because Will is a relatively new author, and he has created something that I have been desperate for as an editor, as well as a reader, which is just a sweet, tender, first love, middle grade story between 2 boys. One boy is on the Oregon beachside with his estranged father for a few weeks, trying to sort of figure out what life with his father is like after his parents' divorce. And one day he looks out and sees a boy running on the beach. And he can't stop looking at the boy, then he can't stop thinking about the boy. And he doesn't really understand the feelings that he's having, but he knows that they are strong, and he can't help but follow through on them. And he meets this boy, and they start to spend time together. And what develops is in that blurry area between friendship and love. And it's just so exquisitely told. Again, it is a book that would have changed my life had I read it When I was a 6th or 7th grader, it would have made me realize why I was looking at boys a certain way, and the longings that I felt when I looked at them. And I just think that the middle grade space really needs queer representation, and it needs it in this tender, sweet way to really talk about figuring out who you are by figuring out who you're attracted to and who you want to spend your time with. So Language of Seabirds, it is coming out in May this year, and I really do hope all of you will pick it up and read it, because you will be transported to a really wonderful, wonderful story. So with that, oh, and there's Ready When You Are. All right, next up, Emily Seif, again, Showing Range. Hopefully you guys are all familiar with Baraka Beats, which was published this fall and is extraordinary. Emily edited that, as well as she is Rod Philbrick's editor, again, Showing Range. But she is here to talk about one of our biggest books for springs that we are all just like amazingly crazy over. So again, I don't want to steal Emily's thunder. So Emily, tell us a little bit about Witchlings.
Thank you, David. Yeah, so Scholastic adores Claribel Ortega, and we adored her debut novel, Ghost Squad. So I was excited when Claribel sent me her second novel, and this was back in March 2020. So believe me, I was not really excited about very much at that time. But when I opened the book up and started to read, I realized that Claribel had taken her talents to a whole other level. I got those once in a career chills that every editor chases, the ones that say that you are reading something special. The story is Disney's The Owl House meets Nevermore with a splash of hocus pocus, incredible world building, and magical representation in every sense of the phrase. So I immediately had to share this with my team. And you know I wouldn't say this lightly, but the response that I got was yes, yes, yes. This is Harry Potter for a new generation, and yes again. So, okay, I'll take that. I really can't wait to share this with you all and for you to get this out to young readers, because young readers are hungry for this exact thing. A fantasy novel grounded in a real world setting with a diverse cast of characters, including main character Seven Salazar, magical spells that are all Spanish rather than Latin-based, a story written by a Dominican non-binary author that welcomes kids just as they are. Witchlings is a warm, vibrant, inclusive world. It's a nonstop monster hunting adventure, yet somehow reading it feels like a hug. And on top of all this, Claribel is, as of this month, a New York Times bestselling author. The paperback of Ghost Squad just hit the list, so her star is on the rise, her audience is growing, and we are just in the perfect place to launch this series with your support. And thank you for all that you have done for Ghost Squad already. So after hearing me talk about this, you may be saying to yourself, okay, Emily, but what is this book actually about? So to answer that question, I'm going to share a super short, just for fun teaser trailer that Claribel made. Nikki, are you able to share that?
I think so. Here we go.
Again, not sure you're sharing the right window. Or the trailer looks a lot like an Edelweiss page on the cover, but I think we're a little more sophisticated than that.
Well, if it's not possible, we can move on.
All right, well, we'll send it around, or we'll put it in the link.
Did it not work?
It didn't, but that's okay.
All right, I will send it to everyone. I'm sorry.
All right, well, again, I know this is being recorded, so it's weird for a Scholastic employee to say this in a recorded venue, but she's totally right. Like when I read it, I was like, this is like reading Harry Potter for the first time, which again, is not something I've actually ever said before, but the world building is so amazing and it is so big-hearted and so imaginative. So you must read this one completely. All right, next up, again, a goddess of range. You know her from the mega best-selling Bad Guys series. You're familiar with Bad Guys, I would guess. But also, you would not necessarily expect the editor of the mega best-selling Bad Guys series also to be the editor of Varian Johnson's Playing the Cards You're Dealt, one of our most extraordinary books on the fall list, of a different tone. So here's somewhere in between, maybe, I don't know where you'd place it in your oeuvre, Jenny. Here is Jenny Abramowitz to talk to you about Sweet and Sour. Up, you're on mute.
Someone's got to do it, right?
Yep.
Always. So Debbie Michiko Florence is one of my absolute favorite authors to work with. You might be familiar with her middle grade novels, Keep It Together, Keiko Carter, or Just Be Cool, Jenna Sakai, or her Jasmine Taguchi chapter book series. And if you are, you'll know she writes about relationships and friendship with an authentic touch that shows us how flawed and joyful and complicated they can be. And that's especially true in her newest middle grade novel, Sweet and Sour, which comes out in July, where she's turned her attention to how our different experiences and perceptions of a pivotal moment can mean the difference between a friendship that lasts and one that falls apart. And how the memories of those moments have a life of their own, bubbling up when you least expect them. How some memories are sweet and some are sour, and you can't always control the ones that haunt you most. In Sweet and Sour, 12-year-old Mai is trying not to remember them at all, because 2 summers ago, on an annual vacation with family friends, Mai's best friend since birth, Zach Koyama, betrayed her by not standing up for her when some racist bullies said nasty things about her. Then Zach's family moved away, and Mai tucked those painful memories deep inside her heart, letting them erase the place that Zach used to occupy in it. But now that she and Zach are about to spend another summer together, the only thing on Mai's mind is cooking up the perfect plan for revenge. Only Zach isn't the boy he used to be, and Mai's memories of their last fateful summer together aren't the whole reality of what happened between them. So now she'll have to decide if she can forgive Zach, even if she can't forget, if she can accept that there are 3 sides to every story, hers, his, and the truth. Sweet and Sour looks at the ephemeral nature of memory, interspersing Mai and Zach's pivotal summer with all of the big and small moments that built their friendship in the first place. It's romantic and heartbreaking, full of longing and scheming and K-pop. There are some amazing BTS dance routines in it. And it also features Debbie's local bookstore in Mystic, Connecticut, Bank Square Books, as a major setting in the story and on the cover, because Debbie is such a huge champion of indies and the way you guys really are the glue that brings your communities together. But amidst the book buying and ice cream eating and revenge plotting in this novel, the first crushes and the friendship drama, Debbie also explores themes of anti-Asian racism, which unfortunately is something lots of kids are dealing with right now. And she does it in a way that makes kids who've experienced it feel seen, and ones who haven't a little bit more empathetic and aware. And in this new book, she's written an age-appropriate romance that captures the way summers can feel like endless possibility, where making memories, both the sweet and sour ones, can leave an indelible imprint on your heart that will last a lifetime if you're willing to let them.
Thank you, Jenny. All right, our next editor, Jody Corbett, basically, like, she collects YA superstars. I mean, she has edited Sarah Dara Lippman, Cody Keplinger, Lamar Giles, and now is bringing a new YA superstar to the table. So, Jody, who is this person and what have they written?
So Ask Isabel is a bright new voice on the kid lit scene, and everyone at Scholastic is so excited that she's making her debut on our list. And The Witchery is actually everything my angsty goth heart ever wanted in a YA novel. Like, teenage me is so delighted with this book. It's The Craft meets Ninth House, but it's a story that the author always wanted to read as a kid, but sadly there weren't a lot of books starring badass Black girls when she was growing up. So she did that thing that a lot of authors are doing and set out to change that. And she has dreamed up a perfectly spooky book that is set in a small town in Florida where witches and mundanes, non-magicals, live side by side, but they have a very uneasy truce between them because they have a long history of violent oppression of the witches. And however, every year there is a haunting season, And wolves rise up from the nearby swamp and start killing, and the mundanes often seek out the protection of the witches. So it's a delicate balance that nobody has dared to disrupt. But in the town, there is also a witches' academy where young witches go to study. And at our boarding school are 4 very different witches with different powers. There's Iris, the Death Witch, who's trying to break a curse. There's Lily, who is the most powerful witch at the school. There's Talia, who's a green witch, who's on the run from her religious family. And then there's Logan, who is a baby witch and can't quite get her powers under control. But when this year's haunting season begins and their classmates start turning up dead, the 4 witches realize that together they might just be powerful to stop the haunting season for good if the wolves don't get them first. So while this is a really spooky, fun, thrilling, action-packed story, it's also a story about power, who gets it, how it's wielded, and how those dynamics change in the hands of females. And also at its heart, it's a story of just how far we'll go for the ones we love. It's an ambitious debut with all kinds of commercial appeal. It hits the ground running from the first page. Like the first time I read it, I literally could not put it down. But what I love most about it is that it also tackles themes of what it means to be a Black girl today, social justice, power and privilege, and just the deep bonds of friendship, because that's what it is at its heart. It's very much a story about friendship. And S. Isabel is a teen librarian in Florida, so she's definitely familiar with what readers are clamoring for. And with this book, she has created something truly magical and thrilling that I cannot wait for you guys to read and then get into the hands of readers everywhere.
Awesome. I see there's some witch fans in the chat, so we've got a lot for you, witch fans. All right, next up is Mallory Cass. And again, you may know her editorial work from such wide-ranging things as Natalie Lloyd's books like A Snicker of Magic, or Jennifer Donnelly's books like Stepsister. Tonally very different. I like this because on my sort of run of show, I have Mallory Cass. This might get awkward. But yes, now here's Mallory Cass. This might get awkward.
It'll probably get awkward at some point. I manage to embarrass myself, even if I'm only unmuted for 90 seconds at a time. So it's really hard for me to pick favorites on my list, but since I know Nikki has already started to spread the love for Natalie Lloyd's new book, Hummingbird, I'm going to focus on my YA baby, This Might Get Awkward. So I didn't think I'd ever find a YA rom-com I loved more than Kara McDowell's first book for us, One Way or Another. I actually reread it for fun after it was published, which is something editors just don't do. And then my book snob boyfriend read it for fun, which is something he really doesn't do, and he loved it. But then I read Kara's next book, This Might Get Awkward, and to my delight, it turns out you can improve on perfection. It's an homage to the 90s classic, While You Were Sleeping, and it's about a girl named Gemma who suffers from severe social anxiety. So you can imagine Gemma's horror when, after saving her popular crush Beau from drowning, she's mistaken for his girlfriend. She's too awkward to correct the record, and soon she's in way too deep to confess. But what will happen when Beau wakes up from his medically induced coma and reveals Gemma as the biggest fraud of all time? A problem we've all faced, right? Kara McDowell is the Sophie Kinsella of YA, and that is not a term I use lightly because she is my hero. But what I love most is that it features a heroine who's upfront about her anxiety disorder. Mental health is such a big topic of discussion with teens today, and we know they're looking for representation across all genres, especially romance. Honestly, This Might Get Awkward is pretty much the only thing that made me smile in 2021, and I can't wait for it to bring the same joy to readers in 2022. I know I'll be reading it over and over again until then.
Thank you, Mallory. And I think it is safe to say that Nikki will be shouting about Hummingbird to everybody. It is extraordinary. Again, all of you must read it. If you have read Natalie Lloyd before, this is just gonna blow your mind. And if you've never read Natalie Lloyd, this is the time to jump on the Natalie Lloyd wagon. It is extraordinary. And again, anybody from Scholastic is going to be telling you this over the next few months.
And also look at that cover. Look at that cover. It's amazing.
All right, next up is Maya Marlette. And now Maya, we talk about people discovering authors, and Maya really did discover Leah Johnson, who wrote You Should See Me in a Crown, which again, I imagine you're all familiar with. It was a Reese's Book Club pick, and really, again, introduced one of the great, vibrant voices to YA literature to come along in many years. Well, now Maya has got something else really cool. And don't you trust me when I say that? Why would I lie? Maya, what's this book about?
Okay, so have you ever known anyone who just seemed like perfect, like they're popular, easygoing, things just seem effortless for them? Did they maybe seem, I don't know, like kind of fake to you? We just have, you know, this like endless fascination with these magnetic people who seem too good to be true. And you can't help but wonder what dark secrets could be running underneath that veneer of perfection. That feeling of suspicion, of just like knowing in your gut that something isn't right, even though you can't explain it, is at the center of Adi Rule's fantastic psychological thriller, Why Would I Lie? Why Would I Lie follows Vivica North. She's an overachiever whose status as valedictorian is threatened when the charming, effortlessly popular Jameson Sharp moves to town. Vivica knows that something is fishy about Jameson, right? But like everyone just writes her off as bitter or paranoid or crazy, any of these words that we use to discredit and demean women. So soon, Vivica will stop at nothing to prove that the school golden boy is a fraud, but she might just destroy her own life in the process. Why Would I Lie is going to appeal to readers of One of Us is Lying or A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Or if you remember that New Yorker article about the sociopathic book editor who lied to everyone for years, and if you were as obsessed with that as I was, it's all I thought about for like 2 weeks, then this book is perfect for you. It's chock full of twists, suspense, and social commentary. It's a feminist revenge story for the ages, one that, like, I promise you is going to have you reading as fast as possible. It is just so engaging to see a character like Vivica, who is so smart and determined and who reflects so many of our readers, learning to trust herself and to really, you know, trust her gut. And I don't want to give you too many spoilers, but I will just say that this ending is so satisfying that if I could bottle the feeling of watching Jameson Sharp get his comeuppance and sell that feeling, I swear I would be a bajillionaire. Like, that is a promise. I love Why Would I Lie? I know you're gonna love it. Thank you all so much for listening, and the work that you do is really, really amazing.
Maya's done such a good job with this book that every time she said Jameson Sharp, I just wanted to boo, be like, ooh, no, ooh, Jameson Sharp, Jameson Sharp. All right, next up is Olivia Valcarce. She, again, has shown range from editing the Indigenous collection of ghost stories called Living Ghosts and Mischievous Monsters, which published this fall on our Scholastic list. She also does a lot of wish titles, like Jazz Taylor's Meow or Never, which brought some much needed diversity to our wish list, as well as light romance and sweetness. Now, you work in children's publishing as long as I have. Very quickly, you know who the horse people are and who the horse people are not. I am a great example of not a horse person. Olivia is a perfect example of someone who is a horse person and has used her passion to create something remarkable with a, frankly, remarkable author. So take us to horse country, Olivia.
Thank you so much, David. It has become very obvious to everyone in the office that I am indeed a horse girl. I grew up reading The Black Stallion, Misty of Chincoteague, Heartland, The Black Stallion, etc. And now as an editor, I could see that nothing is quite filling that slot. And I just knew that there were still horse kids just like me out in the world waiting for the next big horse series. So I'm publishing it. It's called Horse Country, and it launches in April. The author is the fabulous Puda Belpré award-winning Shamile Sayed Mendez, who you might know from Fudia, Where Are You From, or many others. Shamile is dedicated to making Horse Country a more inclusive version of those older series. It stars 2 Latina heroines in rural Idaho, a diverse cast of the real people who make ranches run in this country, and it centers horsemanship and growth, not expensive competitions. The centerpiece of the series is the sponsorship program at the ranch, which allows them to invite in kids who wouldn't otherwise have access to horses, and it lets our charming main character, Carolina, meet a new human friend and a new horse friend in every book. Shamile has that pitch-perfect middle grade way of touching on timely issues while keeping the read super fun and kid-friendly. And for those of you who somehow aren't horse lovers yet, David, shout out, this series is still for you, I promise. Those younger middle grade readers who are hooked on friendship stories like the Babysitter's Club will love it just as much. So I can't wait for you to visit Paradise Ranch with me. Again, book 1, Can't Be Tamed, Cubs in April, and the next 2 books will follow in June and September, so we're keeping it nice and quick. I know the power y'all have to help us launch a paperback series like this, so I hope you're ready to hitch your wagon onto Horse Country with us.
Thank you, Olivia. And yes, I can vouch. When I got it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna read this. I may have treated it a little bit like homework, but then once I started reading, even if I am not a horse person, I am definitely a BSC person, and I'm definitely a middle grade series person. And Shamile just drew me right in, and I love this. So if it can win over even my non-horse loving heart, I think it can win over a lot of other hearts as well. All right, next up is Sam Palazzi. Again, in the range category, on her own, she has edited everything from Stephen Lee's K-Pop Confidential, which really, I don't need to tell you what it's about, the title says all, to most recently Sean Sarles's horrific Mary Will I Die, which scares even Sam when she reads it, and she's the editor. He also works with our Chicken House imprint, which has been responsible for everything from Cornelia Funke's American Publishing to Ben Oliver, the author of The Loop, which is a recent favorite, and many others. Lucy Strange, like I could go on. But anyway, they have an amazing debut on our summer list, and Sam is going to talk about it.
Hello. All right. So Children of the Quicksands is a book from an incredibly talented debut author, Abiwa Traore, who is a Nigerian author residing in the UK, where she won the UK Commonwealth Short Story Prize and also the Times Chicken House Award. And what I love so much about this book is that it is just a lush and character-forward ode to Nigeria in a way that I've never seen before. So in a nutshell, it is the story of a girl named Simi, who is sent to live with her grandmother in this remote village in Nigeria, where there's no water, no electricity, no cell phone service. And she begins to search for the truth behind her mother's grim past and what is going on between this weirdness in her family and why no one's talking to her about it. So during this exploration, she stumbles upon a forbidden lake and some slippery quicksand and an ancient secret about the children here who have disappeared beneath the earth. So this is one of those books that just so successfully melds 2 genres. There's the parallel world that Simi uncovers that's steeped in legend and myth and mystery and is just filled with such adventure. And then there's this contemporary world where Simi is rooted and she's just searching for identity and belonging through themes of grief and the pains of being a child of divorce. But in either world that the reader finds themselves in, Abiwa's writing is just incredible. She has this like ability to write simply and so vividly and with such lush description and world building that you just completely fall into it. And I think that goes back to my earlier statement that it is just such an ode to Nigeria. And I've never read a book like this ever. And it was amazing to hear what everyone was saying at sales conference, just how much it affected them to that same theme of I've never read a book like this. So it just really is, it shows the forest of Nigeria and this fully wrought world beneath it. So this is a book that I feel like readers are forever on the lookout for. It's one that just has that page turning sense of adventure and magic, but it's propelled forward by such deep and relatable themes that I know readers will cherish. So I'm so excited that I got the opportunity to present this one to you, because it's one that I'm hugely excited about. So thank you so much again for everything you guys do.
Thank you, Sam. All right, next up is Talia Seidenfeld. And again, in the range category, she can go from a book like Amanda Panich's It's My Party and I Don't Want to Go, which is a really sensitive, really funny story about grappling with anxiety, to really spooky books like the books of Dan Pawlowski. What she has masterfully done here is she has found a way to make her every visit to a cat cafe a tax-deductible work expense. Bravo, Talia, for that. So tell us about Home for Meow.
Thank you. I will definitely be sending you those receipts shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Booksellers, colleagues, I have an announcement. I have a new best friend. She is in 3rd grade, obsessed with cats, and completely fictional. Her name is Kira Parker, and I'll let her introduce herself as she does in Home for Meow #1, The Perfect Show. I, Kira Parker, have a lot of ideas. Some of them are pretty good, and some of them are really good. Our family owns The Perfect Cup, the best and only cat cafe in town. We live right upstairs in an apartment with blue walls and yellow tiled floors. Mama runs the business and takes customers' orders. Dad bakes the treats we sell, and I get to spend all day with the best friends a girl could have, the cats. My new best friend is all thanks to Reese Ashman, who has used her training and experience as a social worker in the Chicago school system to make this series total chapter book magic. And as much fun as I've had with this incredible character, I can't wait for children to have access to Kira, a Black protagonist written by a Black author. I don't think the value of this mirror can be overstated, especially when the mirror is as creative, silly, and smart as Kira Parker. I have to admit, I was a pretty easy sell on this series. I mean, cats, cupcakes, and shenanigans? Sign me up. But Home for Meow has exceeded all of my wildest expectations. Each time I get to read one of these books, I'm overwhelmed by how funny the writing is, how kind the characters are to each other, and the pure joy I experience from it. We know animal adoption stories are a perennial hit for a reason, and Home for Meow is the best of the best. Plus, with all the pet adoptions that have happened during COVID, these books are more relatable than ever. Thank you all for giving me an excuse to talk about my best friend, Kira Parker. I can't wait for everyone to meet her and her cat friends in Home for Meow coming July 2022.
Thank you, Talia. That was both pretty good and really good. And again, if there's one thing Scholastic is known for, it is our classic series. And we are really being mindful of the ones, again, that we're putting out into the world. And I think Home for Meow is exactly in the sweetest of our sweet spots as far as what we want out there for kids to read and to come back for more and more. And as you can see from this, we do have many Home for Meows signed up. So hopefully once they get hooked by the first one, it is the best friend they will keep coming back to. All right, no stranger to our Scholastic series is Tiffany Colon, who has worked on Geronimo Stilton, Puppy Place, but she is also very crafty because every season she gives us at least one book that we cannot stop talking about. In the spring season, it was Jennifer Torres's The Do-Over, which is this amazing parent trap in the pandemic written by a very funny author, Jennifer Torres. Coming in next fall is a book called The Glass Witch that I imagine if we do this again, Tiffany will talk about, but you heard it here first. You're gonna love The Glass Witch. In between, in the summer, she has this amazing YA, You, Me, and Our Heartstrings. So that is the one she'll be telling us about. Tiffany?
Hi, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm obsessed with all things true crime, murder, and mystery. So when I first started reading You, Me, and Our Heartstrings, my first thought was gross, a romance. And now here I sit completely enamored with this book, gushing about it to you without embarrassment. I've been converted. Heartstrings follows Daisy, a violinist with cerebral palsy who falls in love with Noah, a cellist with severe anxiety. After their love story goes viral, they find fame isn't all that it's cracked up to be. with the attention sending Noah's anxiety disorder into high speed and the comments section online reducing Daisy to her cerebral palsy and hailing her as an inspiration. What I love so much about this book is that while it is a romance about two teens falling in love, it's also just as equally about the ways that they're falling in love with themselves. It's a story about finding your own agency and about learning when to leave a community that no longer serves you. I love how this book is so thoughtful and nuanced. We get to see Noah learn to unpack some of his own unexpected biases. Daisy's cerebral palsy is not a plot point or a twist. It's just as much a part of the story as it is a part of who she is. There's such a big hole in the market for books that represent this community, and You, Me, and Our Heartstrings does so with nuance and heart. Author Melissa C. is a disabled author living with CP who writes specifically for teens with disabilities who want their love stories told and who want to see characters like themselves celebrating love, joy, and other quintessential teen experiences. So grab some tissue and get ready to sigh a heck of a lot because you're going to love it just as much as I do.
Thank you, Tiffany. If this book is not one for indie booksellers, I don't know what book is. Again, this is the kind of book that you make it and you hand sell it. And again, the love that we have for the book gets carried out through you. All right, our last editorial presentation before Nikki chimes in is from Tracy Mack, who again, needs really no introduction. She's so extraordinary. Among the authors Tracy has worked with, you know, Brian Selznick, Pam Munoz-Ryan, and Claire Lazat. I could go on and on. It's a remarkable canon of authors. And she is now going to be talking about an author I think you guys are familiar with, but who is returning to a world in a really inventive way. So Tracy, tell us about City of Magic.
Thank you, David. That was so kind. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. And it feels especially appropriate that I bring us home with the most seasoned writer of the team, Newbery medalist and 50+ year publishing veteran, Avi. I am thrilled to give you a sneak peek at City of Magic. This riveting middle grade adventure and standalone sequel joins Avi's best-selling Midnight Magic and Murder at Midnight to create a dazzling medieval mystery trilogy. We are back in Renaissance Italy, where irritable Mengus the magician and his eager apprentice Fabrizio are sent to Venice to steal a manuscript written by the most famous mathematician in the world. And this manuscript reveals a magical method of making money. One of the things I love most about Avi's historical writing is his penchant for deep research. In Murder at Midnight, he explored the birth of the printing press, once thought to be the devil's handiwork. In City of Magic, he builds the plot around a 15th century essay on double entry bookkeeping, which has been called the most important piece of writing in the history of capitalism. For Mengus and Fabrizio, it's really a matter of life or death. They are to procure this manuscript in order to gain great profits for the king and a secure future for themselves, or die trying. But Venice is a dangerous place, full of endless foggy canals, narrow passageways, informers, people disappearing behind masks and swords, prisons with special cells just for women, a torture room, and harsh punishments for those who steal its secrets. What better place to set this spellbinding tale? A little known fun fact is that Avi once lived in Venice and has returned many times to do research. It has been a long time in between books, 10 years between City of Magic and Murder at Midnight, and another 10 from the original publication of Midnight Magic. But the stories continue to captivate and have really stood the test of time. When I asked Avi what compelled him to return to this world after so long, he replied, because the story and characters like Venice are full of surprises. City of Magic is an action-packed page-turner with humor and historical depth in the vein of Avi's most acclaimed and rereadable works. It sparkles with his witty repartee between the main characters, a trademark of the series. I especially love how Avi prods readers to consider the difference between magic and tricks, illusion and reality, as he explores the fragmenting of truth. These parallels to current events will not be lost on kids and will resonate strongly in today's marketplace. I also love that City of Magic is just a good old-fashioned escapist read, something we all still need desperately. To build anticipation for the new book, in spring 2020, we will re-release Midnight Magic in our esteemed Scholastic Gold paperback line. And I think you all know that Avi has a long-standing relationship with the indies. He's married to a former indie bookseller, and I hope you will find that City of Magic is filled with surprises, sure to satisfy Avi's legions of fans and gain many new ones.
Awesome. I dare you not to want to read the book after hearing about it that way. All right, now, if we were all here, there would be one editor last, Zach Clark, alphabetically, he always comes last. He's getting married this week. He can't be here, but I believe Nikki is gonna buzz a little bit about one of his books. Do I hear that buzz, Nikki? Buzz?
Oh, you hear that buzz. You hear it, and it's gonna get louder and louder. All right, The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. Hold on for just a second, because I have a...
The echo actually works with this cover, I have to say. I thought you were doing that deliberately.
No, but it does work with this cover. The Honeys by Ryan LaSala is coming on May 3rd. And I am obsessed with this book, but I'm not the only one that's going to be buzzing about it. All of my colleagues in the field will be buzzing as loud, sometimes even louder than me. This queer horror YA has cast a spell over all of us. When Mars's twin sister Caroline dies, in a rather dramatic fashion, must I say, Mars is grief-stricken. His sister, once his best friend, has become distant and consumed with the Aspen Conservancy Summer Academy. This is a special prep school for the well-connected and wealthy so that they have their futures all ready for them. Mars has never been interested in the academy. His gender fluidity has kept him on the sidelines. But Caroline's death leaves a spot open, and Mars jumps at the chance to attend and find out what really happened to Caroline. The secluded mountain retreat is hiding secrets, secrets that are worth killing over. And someone or something has set their eyes on Mars next. Dark, twisty, and absolutely delicious, you will race to the end breathless. And let me tell you, Ryan will not let you down. The honeys are coming for you. Things are about to get quite sticky. Continue the buzz. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I want to say a big thank you to David Levithan for being my co-host, and to our wonderful hosts at Heartland, Carrie, Larry, and Scott. I'm going to try one more thing, and that is to try and get this, this video to play for you, because I'm kind of obsessed with it. So hold on for 1 second, and let me try it again. Oops. Did that one work? I hope so. A big thank you to all of our booksellers for joining us. You are the best. You're the reason why we're here. A big thank you to the editors at Scholastic. You are all my favorite people, and I think you know that. And we hope you guys have a very happy, profitable, and very quick holiday season.
Hey, Nikki, before anyone hangs up, everybody, thank you to Scholastic for being one of our sponsors for Heartland this year, and just always being such a reliable and fun partner. We're looking forward to much more in 22. So a round of applause to everybody here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Nikki. Thanks, David.